Hello and welcome to this week's weekly mailing. Just before we head into our Exeat weekend, just like to share with you some of the messages that we've been giving this week in school, with the hope that you might join us on that and reinforce some things, and that we can work together in partnership as we seek to guide these young people through the choices that they make in their own time. We had an assembly on Wednesday where we were really working through our code of conduct and focusing on how our values of love and courage and contribution can be played out in the classroom and in social spaces. So our emphasis around love is partly about care for self, but also care for the other people around us and the choices that we make, having the courage to make big decisions for ourselves and to be brave and ambitious, but also to have that courage to step in or sometimes to step away when needed. And really reinforcing the contribution that all of the pupils make to the experience of other pupils around them. The main focus piece, I suppose, was around drugs and around just challenging and raising awareness of the dangers and the risks behind that. This doesn't come from a place where it is in heavy use around the school, but we just know that the dangers are more significant than with many other threats that we face. So I'd just like to share with you the three levels that we see and introduce the different situations that people find themselves in. So the first situation might be where somebody has arrived at a party or gone to a festival and there is no intention of taking any drugs of any sort, but they find themselves caught up in that situation. So their intention is very different. The second situation is where somebody does intend to take something, to try something, maybe for the first time, and so they seek out a supply, they buy it for themselves, and then we find them in possession of that. The third situation is where somebody is a repeat offender. They've been in this situation before and there's no real change of behaviour following that first warning. Or then indeed that they may be supplying other people, either for profit, which is pretty rare, more as tends to be around sort of gaining popularity or friendship. So with those three levels we have different sanctions, and it ranges from a serious suspension with a follow-up of a testing process, which we use a hair follicle test, which gives an information and data across 3 months, which is a really good deterrent for people to be able to say, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to do that because I will be tested. So that's the first step that we use. If somebody is found supplying or is a repeat offender, then they will have to leave the school, and that has really serious consequences for that young person's education. It is going to be very difficult to find a place, certainly in a local school, and we, for example, as a school, would very, very rarely accept anybody from a local school who'd come to us with a record of supply of drugs of any form. So it's a pretty serious situation, and it reflects the risks and the dangers that are involved. Now, one of the challenges that we've faced, if you can bear with me just for a moment, as parents and as teachers, is that a number of the behaviour changes are quite similar to the kind of behaviour changes you might see in a teenager anyway. But I think we should be on the lookout and observant for certain things. So you might see friendship changes, so moving towards a particular group that you might feel uncomfortable with. You might see changes in eating habits or sleeping habits, or in approaches to money, and obviously a need for money. You might see a degree of withdrawal from normal family life. And at this point, you're probably starting to realise that quite a number of those behaviours are similar to the life of the teenager. So it's not if you're seeing all these things, it's not a clear determining factor. It's not an obviously causal factor, but there might be something going on. And to ask questions, to reach out to us at school and see if we've seen anything different, maybe in academic performance or indeed in their engagement in activities. So if we can work together, that would be really helpful. The thing I was trying to give a real clear line on was this idea very much of a line. And I think all of our pupils, before they go out into the wider world, whether that is to a meeting in a park or to a festival or to a gathering at a party, that they really know what their line is. What are they prepared to say no to? They need to know that before they arrive so that they are fully equipped with their line in the sand. So they know, we're not going to cross this line, we're going to go no further. And that's a conversation that can certainly happen at home. If you'd like any support or advice with these conversations, or you're concerned about your son or daughter's behaviour, we won't overreact. We're not suddenly going to call in the police or anything like that, but we'd love to work with you as we help our young people to be as safe as they possibly can. Have a great weekend.